Okay, so we're glad to have you this very morning. Join us on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. It's 17 minutes past 9 a.m. and we're saying welcome to the Polity Tuesday edition. This 7th day of July 2026. So if you're glad to also be here, I believe that we have to meet ourselves at a point so that we'll be able to bring you those information we came with this very morning, because there are things happening in the country, in Anambra State and other places that we need to bring to your attention this very morning. This morning learned that the death toll from Venezuela twin earthquake had risen beyond the 3,000, and we are counting in thousands number of persons who have been declared missing, and it's quite a sad time for Venezuela. They were coming out from the issue of political instability, and then they had this earthquake that has brought devastation to that very country. So that is one of the battles over there. In Ukraine, they are still suffering from the spoils from the attack which was launched by Russia. In fact, we learned that a Nigerian was caught up in that very attack, and she died recently. Then talk about the World Cup, where the three co-hosts of the World Cup have crashed out on this very tournament. No thanks to the one that happened last night. The last surviving man, a USA crashed out despite all the stunts that Donald Trump pulled to ensure that Folarin Balogun played in that very match. At the end of the day, it ended 4-1. USA crashing out in the hands of Belgium. Then other things we're going to bring to you this very morning on the political area. Yesterday, former governor of Borno State, Amodu Sheriff, was on television where he talked about Nigeria. And the question about P2B came up. The question was about the call by P2B for the president to resign. And Amodu Sheriff says some scary things about Obi, saying that he has no moral ground to ask Mr. President to resign. In fact, his word. He said Obi is aspiring to become president so that he can divide Nigeria. And I must say that has been getting so much reaction across different media platforms. Then talk about what is happening in the presidency, the scandal involving the presidency, and talking about the issue of the special agency that was set up in the presidency, which has been denied. We learned that the latest is that his father has been arrested in connection to that. And the likes of Femi Falana have been asking questions about why somebody should be arrested by proxy. If his father was not involved in the issue, why would his father be arrested? So it's one of the things trending. And also this very morning, we get to know about the meeting which the federal government had with stakeholders in the petroleum industry, where they are trying to see what they can do to ensure that they get to bring down the price of petrol at the retail end of the business. And as we speak now, nothing concrete came out of that, apart from the fact that it's been entreaties and appeals to all the people involved to ensure that something happens. And the President Bola Tinubu has ordered FCCPC to probe Google, Meta X, and AI platforms on issues of exploitation, which has been alleged by Media Association in Nigeria. And that's the issue. So a lot of things happening. Then finally, we see the story of Tony Elumelu, who is going to step down as UBA chairman by August 25. And somebody has been already nominated or elected to succeed him. Talking about Tony Norom. And we must tell you that lots of things out there. So by the time we begin to talk, you are going to hear more on the issues we have this very morning. So we ask you to stay with us as we begin this very morning's conversation. Because as usual, I'm not always alone. By the way, did I tell you my name? My name is Frank Nebka. And Chisom Chinedu is on set. Good morning.
Good morning, Franklin. Good morning, Nigerians. And of course, it's another day to take a look at happenings in and around Nigeria. I saw a video trending from Agulizibo here in Anambra State of a man who defiled his 15-year-old daughter. And he was put under scrutiny. I mean, he was being questioned by a group of people. And he talked about how he has done it twice. And I don't get it. What is wrong with people? During COVID, I came across an information that said there was an increase in rape in Anambra State at the time. And most of them, according to reports at the time, were perpetrated by fathers against their daughters. And I am curious to find out, for a people who are very big on tradition. I don't know about other people. How did we get so eroded? Especially for when you look at the person, he mentioned also having been in the local security field. We know that most of them go have traditional means of protecting themselves. I don't understand what has happened to both our value system and even what we believe in, so much so that we do certain things, get away with them, and even implore other means of protection, and nothing seems to happen or go wrong. I'm really finding it difficult to reconcile the world we live in today, the society we live in, and the ones I was told of, the ones I read off books, because frankly, things like this were the reasons the earth and thunder struck people to death in the days of our supposed forefathers, as we read, because this is beyond abominable. In Abia State yesterday, a woman trended. Why was she trending? She had a knife to kill her niece. Make it make sense. What is really happening to people? Are we breathing some sort of toxic air that has made people insane? Because how do you, the one that also used hot water to scald the body of her niece as well? I don't know how we do it, but aren't children of your siblings supposed to be like your children that you protect? What happened to us? So much so that your sister or your sibling's child is with you and all you want to do is kill the child. It's not making sense, and I really don't know how we got to this point.
Okay, so so many questions we have raised, and if you keep on thinking about, you might not get the answer, because the video of the woman who was maltreating her housemaid, who happens to be her cousin,
her niece,
and she had knife in one of she had knife in her hands, and I was asking myself, what was she trying to use the knife to do? Was it to scare the small girl or to kill the small girl? But the good thing is that she has been arrested by the police.
Absolutely.
And of course, he's going to answer for all her atrocities. And from what we gathered, she's been doing this for a long time. So it was a bad day in office for her that very day, because somebody was somewhere recording her from a high building without her knowing. And the good thing is that she's going to answer for that. And it brings me to this question of, why is this thing common in our place? I'm talking about in the southeast,
exactly,
eastern part of Nigeria. Is it that we're the ones that, okay, we report it most, that's why it's everywhere, or this is very common amongst us? After this very commercial break, we're going to return. By then, you're going to meet Tony, and then we'll bring you the issues we have for.
With it online, oh. If you didn't look for better sound, tune in, make you no rewind, oh.
Your day just got better, right?
Okay, once more, thank you for staying tuned to Udala Radio 104.7 FM, and you are listening to the Polity on the seriously authentic radio station, transmitting from Onitsha, Anambra State. My name is Franklin Ebuka, and I have told you that we are together with the teams this very morning. You have heard from Chison Chinedu, and we have to hear from Tony Olisambeki before we get to bring you the headlines we have trending this very morning. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning. Good morning, Franklin. Good morning, Udala. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, everyone under the reach of our voice. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, and today being the 7th day in the month of July. In fact, we call it 7/7. That's what we call it, and we welcome you from different parts of the globe. But this time around, for those of you who are in all parts of the continent, we have different continents, so we are welcoming you. The good people of Southeast, and the Anambra, and the Onitsha, the Osumo, everyone under the reach of our voice, and the Afia, and the Olwaka, and the Oloyibo, and the Nanya, Fobu, Nanya, and the Nanya, Mankena Batuntum, Mankari Abatuntum. And then Ndi Nalo Ototefe, because we know very well that why we are here for a purpose. And this is the sanctuary of the Most High. I've said it many times. This is the ministry, and this is our own gospel. We are bringing the gospel down to your doorstep, not the way it may please you. Though you may term it political gospel, you may term it socio-economic gospel, whatever you term it. But the most important thing is that we are bringing gospel to you. But before then, we must serve you the food and then preach the gospel. Because that's an idea. Easy on your go. But we have come here with the gospel and the gospel of the truth and nothing but the truth. We thank God Almighty for a day like this, for making everything possible in our eyes, for us to see another day, another Tuesday, the 7th day in the month of July, another day, and we know what it is. Just sit back and enjoy the program.
Okay, so we have to go straight to the headlines we have this very morning. As usual, we'll have 4 newspapers: Nigeria Tribune, Vanguard, Guardian, and the Punch newspapers. We'll begin with the headlines we have on Nigerian Tribune. The big story there says FG pushes for petrol price reduction. You can see the story on page 6, and it has a rider: NMDPRA, FCCPC, Dangote Refinery, marketers, NATO, others meet. 32 die in vehicle accidents in Kwara, Ogun, Kogi on page 22. Stiffer competition as domestic carriers embark on massive aircraft fleet expansion. That story is on page 6. And I've saw that Enugu Air was trending yesterday because of what they offer as an airfare in comparison to others. That it seems cheaper. And I don't know whether they are doing PR or just to, all this a bit and switch. You use this to bring the customers to yourself and then get back to what it used to be. Then this headline says NAS to consider 68 constitutional amendment bills. On page 3 has riders. Reps to pass state police bill as lawmakers reconvene today. Elumelu to step down as UBA chairman August 21st. Norom to succeed him. You can see that on page 6. Falano kicks as police arrest father of alleged fake PFIPCDG. That story can be found on page 2 of the Tribune newspaper. On the health sector, ultra-processed foods are addictive like tobacco, researchers warn on page 5. Appeal court to hear suit against the registration of ADC are called 3 others today. On page 13, Tinubu orders FCCPC to probe Google, Meta, X, AI platforms over Nigerian media complaints on page 3 of
family friend in Ogbomosho on page 5. It is outside my jurisdiction or your police, says FCID Force Headquarters, Abuja. Affected arrest. Residents confirm arrest. PFIPC has no CBN account. OAGF clarifies. That's the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. Interesting. So what actually happened with the account? Tell us. I mean, this clarification has got to be very detailed. Alleged anti-media practices of G orders FCCPC to probe X, Meta, AI firms. 32 die, 26 injured in Kwara, Ogun, Kogi crashes. On page 6. FG has cut import tariffs to 5% for used vehicles, 10% for new. Adeni is speaking on page 8. Japa crisis, fix healthcare or lose all doctors, physicians on page 10. Yesterday, Franklin, a friend shared a story of how her mother is supposedly having a slight health challenges, largely because one doctor attends to her for this period, and the next thing you hear, doctor has jackpot. You gotta start afresh. And with different doctors, different diagnoses, sometimes rather, you have different solutions, different procedures, and according to her, it has left them in some sort of it left them on wobbly grounds. And the question is, how do we at some point deal with this jackpot syndrome? Because it's depleting our figures fast. On page 19, Dangote major marketers cut petrol depot prices as FG mounts pressure. I need to note that yesterday, I bought petrol for 1,220, and by this morning, the same petrol station was selling for 1,225. So what went wrong? I thought we were supposed to be coming down, but they went up. Is it consequence of the meeting they had yesterday?
Is that Shylock tendency that we have amongst our people? Like people keep on saying that Nigeria is one country I have seen that defies all those economic theories that they'll tell you, the price of a barrel of crude oil in the international market has dropped significantly.
So what
But-
it used to be
but-
when
but-
fuel was eight something.
But in our own case, of course, we're not seeing the reflection on the retail price at the tail end of this very distribution line.
It's really sad. Some are even selling as much as 1,250, 1,260. Mile 2, a Papa Highway gridlock. Please, Lasma FRC, others helpless. On page 7. 4th Latif Jakonde Memorial Lecture holds in Lagos, July 23rd. On page 8. Elumelu retires as UBA chairman. Norom named successor. On page 20. Gentlemen, Tony, did you by any means see this post? I think this guy, I saw him on X, was talking about how the coastal way is the reason why some parts of Lagos are usually flooded this year.
I didn't see the post. I didn't get to see the post. But anybody can make any interpretation. You know why? Because Lagos has not, for a long time, not experienced or witnessed what they're witnessing right now. People are blaming the coastal highway. People are blaming the poor drainage system. People are blaming the fields in many places of Lagos. But the government of Lagos has one thing or the other to say, as reasons being that the citizens are not complying to the environmental rules. But I don't see how the coastal highway will be the reason for the flooding we have around, because the coastal highway definitely, the road is not constructed on the river, but rather at the edge of the river, and it has not in any way been seen blocking the inflow of water to the Atlantic Ocean, because the very road is very close, some meters away from Atlantic Ocean. For that reason, we've not seen where the road blocks runoff water getting into Atlantic Ocean. And why would somebody say it's because of this, it's because of that? Of course, it is not engineering, savvy to say so, because you must have the mindset of what the engineering architecture could look like. Anybody can say anything he wants to say.
Okay, so let's get to the headlines we have on the Punch newspaper. The big story there says, fake agency scandal, presidency under pressure as police arrest Adeyemi's father. That story is on page 2. You can see the riders. Police action triggers legal backlash as ABA president Sands condemn substituted arrest. Accountant General says PFIPC received no funds. Senate absolves Akpabio. Senators meet today, insist 1.3 billion controversial allocation from executive, not NAS. Army vows to defeat foreign jihadis at borders on page 7. 10 Kwara APC governorship aspirants protest against Abdul Razak on page 19. Tinubu orders probe of Meta Google AI platform on page 9 of the Punch. South Africa crisis, FG extends evacuation. 270 more expected on page 7. We expect by tomorrow they're going to arrive in Nigeria, because the aircraft to leave them is going to leave Nigeria today. And you can see the picture story there. It has Shetima, Obasanjo, one other celebrate Army Day. That was in Port Harcourt, River City yesterday where it happened. Marketers push 800 naira per liter petrol. Seek import licenses on page 9. Outrage as Russian strike kills Ukraine-based Nigerian medical student on page 5. And the last story on the front page of Punch says UBA names Norom chairman as Elumelu bows out on page 8 of Punch newspaper.
All right, then from the Punch newspaper, let's tell you what we see on the front page of The Guardian. Despite glut, local cement price nearly doubles Africa's average. That's on page 6. We are having it at 15,000 naira per bag at the moment. And there's a picture story there speaking about industrial success versus national needs. ADC accuses FG of pushing 17 million Nigerians into acute hunger on page 29. A Vatican envoy, Sultan meets at National Mosque, warned against extremism on page 5. PFIPC scandal draws in OAGF. Falano, Ogbomosho leaders in fresh twists on page 6. Norom to take over from Elumelu as UBA chairman on page 18. 10 killed, 1 injured in fresh attacks on Plateau, Niger communities on page 30. FG probes anti-competitive practices by Meta, Google, X against Nigerian media on page 5. Tinubu unveils strategy to defeat terrorists, modernize armed forces on page 3. FG offers Nigerians final evacuation. Nance gives South Africans ultimatum to leave on page 5. FG insists in fuel price slash at meeting with Dangote refinery marketers on
in Anambra State because a few days ago we saw reports saying that Anambra State recorded about 1,000 new infections of HIV in the first quarter of 2026, and we are wondering what actually happened. Because if you look at the prevalence of HIV in Nigeria, Anambra has a 2.4% prevalence, which is exceeding the national average of 2.1. And we understand that the body in charge of HIV control in Anambra State is taking some steps to ensure that this is under control. So this very morning, we are going to be speaking with the ED of ANSACA, talking about the executive director of Anambra State, AIDS Control Agency, ANSACA. We are going to be speaking with the ED. He is going to take us through on this because it's important you hear from the horse's mouth and know if any action is being taken to ensure that this very surge or this very spike that has been reported is put under control. So he's going to join us via phone for this very conversation this very morning. So we ask you to stay with us because it's something that concerns you, that you should have knowledge about. Now, before he comes on board for this very conversation, let's look at a development in Anambra State. The story came out yesterday, came out last week, Friday, but yesterday was the official presentation of SUVs to 10 Georges in Anambra State by the governor of Anambra State. And according to the government said it's going to help to improve welfare of the Georges and at the same time improve their mobility, the mobility of the judicial officers. But some persons are trying to ask her some questions, trying to ask, how does this position when it comes to the issue of checks and balances and the principles of separation of power in government? If executive must be independent and do his job without influence by any other arm of government, and vice versa. So, Tony, let's talk about this very development. How do you look at this gesture, presentation of vehicles to 10 Georges in Anambra State by the state government?
Well, I have maintained one position about issue of executive, given whether you call it cars, gift, building houses for the judiciary. I've been very consistent about it because for me, I believe that it does not tell well about the principle of separation of power. Because if you look at those who actually put these principles, they had one thing in mind before this principle was actually packaged. The idea is no organ of government is bigger than the other, and no organ of government has overriding power against the other organs of government. And also the idea is at all time one organ of government will be able to checkmate the other organ or organs of government, and they must be clearly be bounded within their jurisdictions. We've seen, and it's a mistake, and I've said many times we need to correct these mistakes. Yesterday I was saying it, and I'm going to say it again. Most times we see government from the executive perspective, but that's totally wrong. Government must be seen from judicial and legislative perspectives as well. Because these three organs of government is what makes, in our own case, the federal government. But wrongly, each time we wrongly attribute federal government to be the executive arm. We wrongly attribute the state government to the executive arm. It's totally wrong. There is no known work or anywhere that backs it. It's just a tradition. It's just a culture. Just the way we started calling SSS, DSS. Somebody from nowhere branded it that way and becomes a brand against what the law states. Because in our laws, there is nothing like DSX. But if you go to their office, you will see a very big, where Wike was building judicial quarters for judges, and incidentally, he has litigations before these judges.
Okay, so we'll have a commercial break now. So we have to attend to it and return. Once we return, we cross over to speak with the ED of Ansaka so that you get the information we are looking from him. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
From the commercial city of Onitsha comes Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, where authentic news and entertainment meet. Udala Radio 104.7 FM, seriously authentic.
Ya, onye na-ere Malta Guinness, wetakwa otu bọtụl Malta Guinness ọzọ. Onye na-ere Malta Guinness, wetakwa abụọ ọzọ, mezuo ya atọ.
Ya, Ikenna, bọtụl Malta Guinness ole ka ị chọrọ ịṅụta?
Nwanne m, ọ bụrụ ịmaghị maka ihe nrite goodness Nọnland nke ndị Malta Guinness, anaghị m aṅụ mmanya niile a na nkịtị o. Achọrọ m iji ya wee rite ihe nrite dị iche iche dịka fridge, TV, generator, standing fan, instant airtime, ya na ezigbo ego. Gwam, otu a ka ihe nrite goodness Nọnland nke ndị Malta Guinness si dị. Naanị zụta Malta Guinness gị, mepee ya, skanụ akara ya, itinyezi akara dị n'okwuchi bọtụlụ gị. Ọ gwụcha, ị nwere ike irite ego ruru nde naira abụọ na ihe nrite dị iche iche ruo ngwụcha Ọgọst.
Chai, Ikenna, ebinyego m uche anụ nwa kemgbe. Bịa, onye na-ere Malta Guinness, wetara m bọtụlụ Malta Guinness na.
Malta Guinness, nourishing goodness for every side of you.
Malta Guinness.
You see that nylon for your hand? You want drop am for ground, abi? That's so it start. One person, two people, before you know it, everywhere done dirty. Drainage go block, flood go come. Do the right thing. Find a dustbin, throw am well. Keep your area clean.
104.7 Udala Radio.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, you are listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. It's 9:47 a.m. My name is Franklin Ebuka Chison Chinedu, Tony Disambeki. All of us are together on this very morning show. And we told you about Anambra's current HIV burden, and we told you the difference between Anambra of today and Anambra of 2 years ago. And that's why we're trying to bring on board the ED of Anambra AIDS Control Agency, Ansaka, so that he can speak to us on these very statistics to confirm it, and at the same time tell us what can be done or what is being done to ensure that the state gets to deal with this very burden, which, if not well managed, of course, could pose some health problems to the state. Okay, so we're going to get him on board this very morning. Yes, good morning, Dr. Nkemo Keke.
Good morning.
Yes, thank you for joining us this very morning to talk about the prevalence of HIV in Anambra State. I'm going to put out these very facts or statistics, then you can confirm to us whether they are true or not. And if they are true, what is being done to ensure that it's under control. Now, we have a record that Anambra currently records an HIV prevalence rate of 2.4%, which exceeds the national average of 2.1%. And according to this very report, it places Anambra State as the state with the highest infection rate in the southeast region, and that makes the state the 5th highest nationwide. Now, from this very record, is saying that approximately 98,960 people are living with HIV/AIDS in Anambra State, and that the state recently recorded new cases across local communities, and now we have seen health authorities reporting that over 1,000 new infections were recorded in the state in the first quarter of this very year. So can you confirm these very statistics? And if it's true, what can you attribute to this very surge?
Okay, thank you so much, Udala FM, for bringing me on board. Of course, I know you might have introduced me before now, so I don't know whether I still need to introduce myself.
Okay, go on for emphasis. Go on.
Okay, my name is Dr. Nkemo KSC, the Executive Director, Anambra State AIDS Control Agency. Yeah, the some of the figures, statistics that you mentioned are correct, but not recent. Like the 2.4% prevalence and the 2.1 national prevalence. The data from the National Impact Survey conducted by NACA in collaboration with Federal Ministry of Health since 2018. So that's not so recent data. However, currently there are gaps in terms of data and research on HIV prevalence nationally. Okay, but we have our internally sourced data and reports. Then again, one thing I also want you to know is having an increased prevalence is directly proportional to the rate of testings going on in the states. Because when you are tested and you get a positive, that is when you can have an increase in the number of positives. So, but when you are not tested, meanwhile you may be positive, there will not be any addition to the number, to the prevalence. So, if, for example, Anambra State, that we are having testings ongoing across the communities and the facilities, you expect the prevalence and of course the incidence to continue to grow. But of course there are states where there are no testings ongoing at all. But that doesn't mean they don't have that HIV burden in the state. But because there is no testing. So when you say that Anambra State is number 5, that doesn't mean that we are the worst or we are doing so badly. It implies that we are equally doing very good on the aspect of testing and discovering positives. And the good thing about this is that when you are tested and you are discovered to be positive, you are quickly linked to care. Of course, when you are tested and you are negative, you will be encouraged to remain negative through healthy living, lifestyles, and all what have you, and healthy behavior. So the prevalence rate it shouldn't be how will I put it, a kind of worry per se. However, the state government through Mr. Governor and Honorable Commissioner Famo Bidike have already triggered a lot of mechanisms, preventive protocols, through which we will discover new infections to the extent that we stop having a new infection. And that is the target. Last 2 weeks, the Anambra State AIDS Control Agency, in collaboration with the First Lady, Dr. Mrs. Noye Soludo's Healthy Living, inaugurated what we call the Healthy Living HIV Control Initiative. Through this initiative, we intend on building on the already established structure of healthy living with Noye Soludo across the 21 local government areas to penetrate to the communities, to be carrying out testings, concurrent testing, discover new cases. And it was also in that event that a charter was signed that by 2030, Anambra State will be able not to get any new HIV case. And that is in line with the UNAIDS 95-95-95 to have a zero new case by 2030. Of course, the same with the SDG goal number 3.3 to eliminate HIV as a public health threat globally. So currently, Anambra State is doing quite well in that aspect. The HIV response in the state has been further strengthened. The partners in the state are equally contributing theirs. Currently, we are about to roll out a 1,693 volunteer structure across the 326 wards in the state. And this volunteer structure in each ward has 5 volunteers. The volunteers are called across from the traditional institution in the ward, the woman wing from the ward, the youth wing from the ward, the faith-based organization from the ward, and then of course the primary health care center from the north. So what they will be doing will be to be carrying out concurrent testings across the world. People are encouraged to test themselves to know their status. Discovering your status is the gateway to eliminating HIV as an epidemic issue. That is the gateway to equally save others. And the most important thing is that immediately you are discovered to be positive, you are linked to care. There are a whole number of successes now recorded in terms of the treatment of HIV. Anambra State is one of the 8 states in the country where we have the lenacapavir injectable PrEP that has been rolled out. This is an injectable PrEP that gives you a twice yearly protection against HIV. So when you take it for the first 6 months, you're given a protection, and then for the second 6 months, you are given a protection. Okay. So it's a twice yearly. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello,
Doctor. Just hold on, because I want to talk more about this very lenacapavir that you mentioned, because we want to get more awareness about it. Just give us like 2 minutes. We are going to get back to. Just be on the line.
Okay.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Ya onye na-ere Malta Guinness, wetakwa otu bottle Malta Guinness ọzọ. Onye na-ere Malta Guinness, wetakwa abụọ ọzọ, mezuo ya atọ.
Ya Ikenna, bottle Malta Guinness ole ka ị chọrọ ịṅụta?
Nwanne m, ọ bụrụ ịmaghị maka ihe nrite goodness Dunlad nke ndị Malta Guinness, anaghị m aṅụ mmanya niile na nkịtị o. Achọrọ m iji ya wee rite ihe nrite dị iche iche dịka fridge, TV, generator, standing fan, instant airtime, ya na ezigbo ego. Gwam, otu a ka ihe nrite goodness Dunlad nke ndị Malta Guinness si dị. Naanị zụta Malta Guinness gị, mepee ya, skanụ akara ya, itinyezi akara dị n'okwuchi bọtụlụ gị. Ọ gwụcha, ị nwere ike irite ego ruru nde naira 2 na ihe nrite dị iche iche ruo ngwụcha Ọgọst.
Chai Ikenna, ebinyego m uche anụ nwa kemgbe. Bịa, onye na-ere Malta Guinness, wetara m bottle Malta Guinness now.
Malta Guinness, nourishing goodness for every side of you.
Malta Guinness.
You won't drive, commode. Just normal movement, Abby. Nothing serious, I get it. But accident no the plan, no. It just they happen. That small click of your seatbelt, if it save your life. And now 1 second matter. So, before you move, not just think wear your seatbelt every time.
104.7 Udala Radio.
To the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so you are listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. My name is Franklin Ebekatono Disambeki. Chison Chine Dollar Force are together, and we've been talking on phone with Dr. Nkemo Keke, who is the ED, the Executive Director of Anambra State AIDS Control Agency, ANSACA, and he's talking about the interventions in the state to ensure that the state is under control of HIV and new infections. And before that very commercial break, we're talking about the long-lasting or the long-acting injectable that people can take about HIV/AIDS, which I want him to give us more insight on. Doctor, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. So you talked about the distribution of lenacapavir, which is a long-acting injectable. So let's know more about this. How does it work? What does it do? How can people take it?
Okay, Anambra State, thank God to Mr. Governor Professor Charles Soludo, is among the 8 states where this lenacapavir is being rolled out in the country. So it's for you to as well note that it doesn't have an even distribution. And let me make it clear that this injectable PrEP is for free and it's not for sale. So one is for you to know the states where they are available. So when you go to states where they are not available and you see that, consider it fake, fraudulent. You should not be moved to access them free. In Anambra State, we have about 8 facilities where you can get them, including the one-stop shop in Udoka Estate. These informations are readily available on the Federal State Ministry of Health website. So what is lenacapavir? Lenacapavir is a PrEP. Most persons, according to a layman, may call it a lenacapavir. So what we do is lenacapavir works as a HIV capsid inhibitor. Capsid is one of the protein content of the virus. So what it do is to inhibit the multiplication of the virus within. So it's taking 2 pills, one as loading, and then after 24 hours. So when you take the first one today, in the next 24 hours you take the next one, okay? And that will take you for the first 6 months. So after the first 6 months, you take it again for another 6 months before you be administered. So that way you equally get to know your status before you take it. But you must have to be sure that you are within the reasonable risk exposure level.
All right, thank you, Doctor, for the information you have passed so far. So, according to the statistics we have, about over 1,000 infections between January and March this year. And what I see here is a crisis that I am afraid may not be getting or is getting biased attention. Maybe people are too scared to discuss HIV. It is a reality that has come to live with us. A couple of weeks or months ago, an NGO went to tertiary institutions here in Anambra and randomly gave students the room to carry out HIV tests and all of that. 11 undergraduates tested positive here in Anambra State.
We call it a Gen Z time or whatever. And of course, digitally, and a whole lot of news fly out there on social media. It may be possible, but it is not possible to have new 1,000 infections between February and now. Why I will tell you so is it depends on the reach and the level of engagement through testings that have been carried out for you to record those results and how targeted those testings are. For example, here in Anambra State, we started what we call the moonlight testing. Moonlight testing is usually carried out at targeted hotspot areas for our key populations and is done between 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. in the night. Who are our key populations? Our key populations are the main drivers of this infection, and they are because of the departure and because of failure of parents in taking responsibilities as parents from their families and their homes. Most of the young undergraduates now are on the streets. They call it hookup. They call it all sorts of names. When you go further to inquire, you find out that poverty, financially related challenges, issues are key to why they are on the streets. So, has our parents failed? Yes. Has the society failed? Yes. They need to go back and take it back from where it began. We have activities that we are yet to roll out in that line. Okay, so ours is not just about doing testing, but on the preventive measure. It's whatever that we'll see within the next couple of years on HIV.
All right.
Okay.
So the disease is still very much living with us, but its response is one that is multisectoral.
Okay.
It is not only the health sectors that are involved. Every sector in the society are very much involved. Even the faith-based organizations. They are very much involved in the response against HIV. I can admit hook, line, and sinker that the disease is living very much with us because of the gaps in the awareness and also the gaps in the testing. And that is what Anambra State government is reinforcing currently.
All right, we're almost totally out of time, but finally from my end, I'd like to quickly now, maybe if you could squeeze this in seconds, what are we doing in rural areas? We're talking among young people, the prevalence among young people, and you talked about sensitization, which is one thing I am pretty sure we actually need to double up on as a people and as a society. But in rural areas too, it looks like they are not part of the conversation pretty much, but there's a lot going on in those settings as well.
Good. For the rural areas, I can tell you in a way there is no much going on. What rule out the fact that we don't have prevalence cases in the rural areas? And we already have activities, programs are waiting to be rolled out for our rural areas. As I speak with you, our mobile testing booth is ready for inauguration for the rural areas. By next week, you may be viewing our activities in Urun Banasa, all the had to reach Riverine, whatever, because we'll be going to launch our testing booth, our mobile test booth.
On the south, at least they heard from you what the stats are saying regarding the prevalence in this very area. Thank you for this very discussion this morning.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time. So, and as he was talking, I was going through some stuff, and I saw that Bobrisky said that he does his HIV testing every 6 months. And let me also add that some time ago in Anambra State, I knew one hospital in Oka that if you come there for any medical treatment, whether you like it or not,
You go.
one of the tests you must run is HIV test. If you cannot run in, they will ask you go any other place for a medical treatment. But it seems like that kind of conversation is no longer there, because it's like we think that it's no longer with us. So we are going to leave this at this point, and then let's get over to another matter, which is getting public attention.
Ụmụaka anaghị apụta mgbe niile n'ahụ. Mgbe ụfọdụ ọ na-egosi n'omume. Nwata nwere ike ịmalite ịtụ egwu, ịdị jụụ, ma ọ bụ izere ụlọ. Ọ bụrụ na ịhụ ụdị mgbanwe, biko eleghara ya anya, kwuo okwu, gee ntị, ma kpọọ enyemaka. Child abuse abụghị ihe dị mma.
104.7 Udala.
Murder. There was a push actually, but just that God saved the life of the maid. And we can go on. We saw what happened last time here, somewhere around Minaj Axis. We saw how a little boy of 10 years was assaulted repeatedly by a woman who was actually his guardian. And there are many stories. There are so many of these things that are not even accounted for. There are so many of these things that are even hidden. And I don't know, it's not a gender thing for me, and neither is it going to be a tribal thing. As we speak right now, there was also an arrest in Niger State where 3 persons raped a girl of 12 years because the girl had come to sell what we call chicken or fowl to those men, and the girl pleaded with them to buy those bags from her. We are told that they insisted on having a kind of knowledge of the girl before they can part ways. And even when the girl said no, they ended up raping the girl. And at the same time, a policeman, AXP, was also part of the scheme because the young girl approached him as well. Because if not for the Ministry of Women Affairs in Niger State, the one that happened in Niger State would have been shielded. Because the family said that they made several attempts to get justice, but these attempts were blocked. You can imagine that. And one thing about these perpetrators is this: they will tell you that they will do this and get away with it, and nothing will happen. It's a very disturbing trend as far as we are concerned. And of course, we have social media. These are things social media should expose. The idea of social media is to expose those things that ordinarily could have been blocked or shielded by those who may think that they have the superior or upper power. We can go on and tell, even in any state, even in a boring state. And most times, the last time we talked about the issue of child labor, that was the day we had the Children's Day. That was May 27th, if I can still recall. We did extensive public education on the right of a child. We preached. We did everything. We let people know what the law says and how children should be treated. But in all of this, they will never listen. So the point I'm trying to make is this: stretching this to different areas. And one of the areas that, I'm not preaching against people going to church so that you don't misunderstand me. But I'm saying it must reflect in your character. That church you are going, if it's not seen in your character, you're wasting your time there. If it does not reflect in the way you treat the next person, you are wasting your time there. If it does not reflect in your behavior, in the business you do, you are wasting your time. And it must reflect in the people that are under your custody. How do you treat them? Any discrimination between the maid and your children, you are worse than those in South Africa.
Heard on television, that was yesterday. You hear Alimo the Sheriff.
Both leaders from the north and the south. You heard what Mr. Peter Obi said. He's asking President Tinubu to resign or step aside. Do you think that's just reasonable to do, considering that President Tinubu at the time was also asking Goodluck Jonathan to step aside?
Sean, unqualified person to make such a statement.
Really?
Yes.
As an opposition figure?
Not only that, I want to take you back. This country, Nigeria, today fought a civil war. It doesn't believe in division of the country. He should deny. I am confronting him, telling him this is what he stood for. And Nigeria in 2026, today, we have gone past that long time ago. Because our leaders today, Nigerian leaders, a lot of them are having bullet wounds in their body. People like Obasanjo, General Yakubu Gawan, T.Y. Danjuma, late General Shua, late General Abacha, all of them have a bullet wound in their body in order for Nigeria to be together.
Ndị Malta Guinness ede naanị zụta Malta Guinness gị mepee ya skanụ akara ya itinyezi akara dị n'okwuchi bọtụlụ gị ọ gwụcha ị nwere ike irite ego ruru nde naira 2 na ihe nrite dị iche iche ruo ngwụcha Ọgọst.
Chai Ikenna ebinyego mucha anụ nwa kemgbe bịa onye na-ere Malta Guinness wetara m bọtụlụ Malta Guinness na
Malta Guinness, nourishing goodness for every side of you.
Malta Guinness.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, Obachi Chane Tozialo. Wendy's bread, Mama Papa they like Wendy's bread, Chichane Nyandu. Wendy's bread, even children they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, you get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's your Obachi Chama. Wendy's bread,
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tani Road. Also contact us on 070-114.
Signing the clown's property after this revocation is at the individual's own risk and will not be recognized by the Great Ukperi clown. For official inquiries, land verification, and legit dealings, please contact Chairman Chief Uchenna Ucheji, Secretary Chief Chukudini Igbo Christian Ikechukwu. Helplines are 081-634-29665 or 081-606-72694. Signed, the Executive Committee, the Great Ukpari Clown.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so thank you for staying tuned to what has been called the Nigerian politics. Or perhaps he's not been truthful about his kind of politics, Tony.
Well, let me say this thing. If you are contesting for presidency, a lot of things will be said against you, especially if you're a top contender. And there are people that get emotional when attacks like this come against Obi. They get emotional over it. These things are politics. I have said it many times. In the case of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, during his own time, a lot of things we have said are against him. Those things, some people believe they were actually facts, some believe they were not facts. It depends on the side of the divide you are. I remember when Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president, is actually coming out for election. People said a lot of things about him. They said a lot of things, that he was a drug addict, a drug pusher, a drug this, he was a certificate forger, he had his age. They said, in fact, there was a song that was actually put together against the president. I'm talking about way before he became president. And that song is still on, and there are people that are still playing the songs. So many things were said. He sold everything. In fact, he even sold his community. A lot of things were said. In fact, some people will have even asked Atiku, how did he make his money? As a public officer, you were never known to trade any business. You were never known to be in any business. But you became stupendously rich. And people also use what Obasanjo said against Atiku to remind the political space who Atiku is, because if you go to that Obasanjo book, My Watch, a lot of things were said. Now, coming back to Peter Obi, if you look at what Ali Modu Sheriff said last night, people are angry with the way and manner Chewu Okinbaloyi handled the program. They say that he allowed Ali Modu Sheriff to go away with some of the things he said without pushing him to the level of substantiating those things with facts. But for me, everybody has his style of anchoring a program. But I thought, because if I were there, whatever statement you make, you must substantiate it with facts. And as you are substantiating it, I will also have to verify it before I allow it to slide. But people were accusing the man, because I think people who are doing those accusations are those who are also loyal to Obi. Many of Obi supporters started accusing the anchor. But look at what Ali Modu Sheriff said, for instance. He said that Obi repatriated Northerners, and he cannot be claiming one Nigeria when he was a governor, he brought Northerners back to their respective homes.
Did he?
And I'm going to come back to that. And then he's supporting IPOB. That he's a member of IPOB, that those who fought the Civil War still have bullets rights in their body. But here is a man who is out to contest for presidency supporting IPOB. Let's come back to the first question you asked me. Did he? The question is, that was in 2011. What did Obi do? In 2011, Obi government began a drive against street beggars. Those who are on the streets begging, those who would not go to school. And there was this drive by state government. In fact, it was one of the policies that the street and every nook and cranny should be prone from beggars. The idea is to make sure that they are in school, and the idea is also to make sure that they are not being used by elements that are actually causing insecurity in the state at that time. Obi now repatriated some of these people that were arrested, because they were arrested. So many of them were arrested at different places. In fact, it was in December 2011 that this issue happened. Government first issued warnings. Government first issued warnings to street beggars, especially those using children. That you cannot use a child to beg. That is against the law. But first was the warning to leave the streets or face arrest. There was operations in Oka and Onitsha. In fact, arrests were made. Repatriation of beggars, destitute person, primarily to southern states like Ebonyi State, Akwa Ibom, where these people were coming from. They were taken back to their states. I'm not aware of any northern states saying that they receive beggars. Okay, but Tony, most of these people were from Ebonyi State, Akwa Ibom, Cross River. But look, guess what? Tinubu did the same thing. That was in the year 2000. That was when Tinubu government had ongoing beggars deportation drive throughout this early 2000.
So it's safe to say he learned from Tinubu.
I don't know. Probably the first person that did it in this country was Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That was in 2000. By that time, because by the end of his tenure, the state had repatriated thousands of destitute persons, including northern beggars. They were taken to their states of origin. And this action set a precedent for different governors. And Fashola did the same thing. Okay, and then Fashola did the same thing in 2007. And then in fact, in his own case, he repatriated northern beggars.
And outside beggars, I think I've also heard of repatriation of mentally challenged people.
That's
was
destitute.
The time they were even brought down to Anambra.
That is
and
destitute. Of course, Fashola brought some destitutes who are from Anambra, from Lagos down to Anambra State. It happened. So it was a drive to sanitize the state, to clean up the state, and to do a lot of things.
So now, let me ask you something. What is wrong in this, especially where you counted 2,000 from the time of era of President Bola Tinubu? Is there something wrong in this, especially in this drive for one Nigerianness? And also, I'd like to know what the Constitution says about this. Does the Constitution in any way wrong or find any wrong in what these different people have done?
For me, I think if you are to go by our laws, there is something fundamentally wrong with it. Because the Constitution provides that every Nigerian should live and work and stay in any part of the country.
Live and work.
Who is that Nigerian? Is it a lunatic? Is it somebody of same mind, or just anybody who is a Nigerian?
And again, sorry, you put a caveat: live and work. And let's not pretend to not know that you can't be living in a place. If you're not working, you can't provide for yourself. And so, more or less, you become a problem to the society.
Yeah, of course. And then, the idea of taking them back to the states is also another thing. Because government, where a resident stays, lives, probably was born, is deemed to be state. You know, here we do state of origin. And we have said many times that it's nothing like state of origin. What we should have is state of residence. But I have said it, many people don't even understand. But I know why we do this thing, because to protect the Aboriginal, the indigenous. For me, yes, it was started by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2000. But there are things that are wrong with that. If you as a government feels that these are destitutes, these are lunatics, these are people that are nowhere to do, what do you do as a government? Build a lunatic home for them. Take care of them. And probably by the time you do profiling and you find out they are from particular states, you can also solicit for funds from the state, home state. And also seek for donor agents, look for donor agencies, seek for funds. But when you put them back to their home state, it sends a wrong signal. Because while you are taking them back to their home state, does it mean that people from your home state are not also in another person's state doing the same thing? You wouldn't tell me there is a state that has no beggar outside that state. If I bring those from my state back home to Ebuka Franklin state, let's assume Ebuka Franklin is from Meduguri, that's from Borno state. Let's assume if I am from Anambra state and take lunatics from Anambra state back to his home state, what if he does the same thing by taking lunatics, probably not from Anambra state, but maybe from neighboring state back to another state? It becomes something that has no legal basis. I understand the intention. The intention is to make the state to be actually rid of all these menace. We understand the intention, good intention, but I will want to put Alimodi Sheriff on context. It happened. The first person that did it was President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That was in 2000.
But it appears where he got it wrong was that he said that he deported Northerners.
No.
Because it wasn't Northerners best.
No. In the case of P2B, what happened was it was people from Ebonyi State, from Cross River State, Akwa Ibom. No Northerner from records, as I have here, was actually taken to Northern State. But I stand to be corrected on that. But I'm looking at the facts I have here. But in the case of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I think many Northerners were deported. And Alimodi Sheriff, in fact, that was why some people were angry with Shegun, that he failed to remind Alimodi Sheriff that something like this had happened under the time of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In fact, there was a time Rochas Okorocha did the same thing. There are many governors. There were many governors that had done the same thing.
There was a time it was a competition. Send them from Lagos.
Things like that. There many people had done that. But let's talk about the issue of the issue of being supporting IPOB. I think P2B was actually ambushed when he was asked to speak on Nnamdi Kanu, and he said he committed no crime. And there were people that felt offended by the fact that after Nnamdi Kanu had caused death of so many people, directly or indirectly, even though he was not the one that was directly involved through broadcasts and other things, and then probably he did not even let justice have its way, let his trial be accelerated. I think many Northerners believed, many of them were insulted. And he said, somebody who has such sympathy, and you're coming back to us to seek our votes. How does it go? That this young man insulted us. You've not even apologized on his behalf. That if you had started by apologizing on his behalf, asking that he should be at least pardoned for what he had done. But P2B's argument is there were people that had done worse thing than what Nnamdi Kanu did, and they went away with it. That there were many terrorists that are being given repentance. That we are being forced to repent so that they can be given some other things. That if you can give terrorists repentance, forced repentance, not the one willingly anyway, forced repentance on them, whether they like it or not, which is temporal. At the end of the day, you forgive them, you repatriate them, you rehabilitate them, you give them to where whites, at the end of the day.
So Tony, before we go to the phone lines now, because I want us to open the phone lines in a minute, that statement to be made about Nnamdi Kanu and the Biafra, how sensitive was it or insensitive on either side of Nigeria? Those people who were affected by the activities, those who were not affected.
For me, that question was purely an ambush. It was purely an ambush. And you should start making some correction because you are seeking votes. Had it been you are not on the ballot, there are things you can say.
When you say he should start making corrections, is it to be politically correct? Or to say the way he feels? Or to say the way he feels that it's not going to injure him in the southeast?
You should look at, I think there are statements you will make. You will not be injured either ways. There are statements you will make. You won't be injured.
And does that mean that you're saying do not say your
No. You should be diplomatic. That is diplomacy.
That's a better word.
You should be diplomatic. It doesn't mean that you're not trying to express your feelings or your thoughts, but you should be diplomatic about it. If I were him, when such statement was maybe raised, the way I would have gone about it would have been the case of Nnamdi Kanu. Justice, I believe. I believe so much in justice. Because things people are saying he has done, I believe that those who had also done that, which way were they treated? I think if he's treated the same way those who have done this were treated, I think that should be justice. I think there's a way to approach something, not the way you went about it.
Okay, so let's go to the phone lines now at 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Please take 1 minute, make your submission and drop your call. Hello.
Yes, a wonderful morning to you, Franklin and Tonyo Zambeki.
Good morning.
Morning, Honorable Dike ringing from Onitsha.
Go on, Honorable Dike.
The point is this, with Kwankwaso, the Kwankwasia movement, the North is good to go. With El Rufai's son and notable Northerners, whatever the man is speculating, even if P2B is a member of IPOB, the North is not set up. Even if he's a member of Biafra, which he is. We can't deny our identity for crying out loud. You have Ariwa, you have Ojuduwa. Sunday Boho was agitating and picked up arms. After the doctor picked up arms. So there's nothing wrong, why will we deny our identity for crying out loud? The only thing I don't support is violence. So going straight to whatever the man is saying on the air, Nigeria is yearning for change. What we need is all this corruption and not holding government accountable, allowing 3 tiers of government to function. That should be our top priority. That is why we keep urging our people, get your PVC, do the right thing. Go and exercise your franchise. You can see things is turning our way. The US is monitoring this election closely. And you can see a viral song, All Power Belongs to Jesus, going viral.
All right.
So what we are looking at here is free, fair, credible. Okay, for instance, with all the governors in your side, with the military, police, and navy, yet you are still afraid of free, fair, credible elections. Why are you trying to register other political parties?
All right, Dike, that will be all.
Hello?
Yes, thank you for understanding. We said 1 minute,
Hello,
please.
good morning.
Yes, good
Mr.
morning.
Frank.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Go on, Mario, 1 minute.
Thank you very much. If it was another person that was saying that, and not remove the sheriff, it may be understandable to him. But this is a man who formed Boko Haram. Yes. This is a man, the suffering of terrorism in Nigeria today. It's so much money that you have been spending on insurgents. This is the creator of that insurgents from his stage, and he knew how he started it. So this man lacks the moral right to be accusing anybody of whatever he is saying. And the people he is talking about, people who fought Mazok are my life when Mazok started in Anambra State. In fact, it was at the back of my house was their barrack. When people visited them, I was there presently. I was there present. When Peter was talking to them, Peter didn't with them. They didn't agree with him. Peter fought them with heavy force. The person who spoke about what discussing in Onitsha today was Peter Obi. Go and take your records. And the Obasanjo can I'm the witness to this. Because Obasanjo with Peter Obi, they fought heavily against Masabian. And we knew what they did there. So this one, no matter what he was saying. Honestly, and I am blaming that particular presenter. He is so biased. Because I was even waiting for him to tell him what of the Boko Haram in the state, how did it started. Okay. So he has no right, no moral justification to say what the things he's saying. To me, everybody knows that people has said it can't out many times that he is believing in one Nigeria. Right. He is not believing secession. People has said it many times. But that man who is going down for this man did not speak any of those things have been saying always. That is to show you that it is a stage manager interview and not that.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your opinion this very morning. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Good morning to all in Nigeria. This case is the driver that lost Udala FM.
Okay, please take 1 minute.
Yeah, please. I listened to that interview, pissed me off the most, where he said that people that fought for democracy of this country were, where he mentioned Abacha. I don't understand where that man got that from. A dictator has been labeled somebody that fought for the democracy of this country. I always say I weep for this country. I weep daily for this country. Good morning.
Okay. Thank you for joining. Let's see who we have next here. Hello.
Yeah.
Good morning. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, your name?
My name is Swanga and I'm Wakoma. Reaching you from Newi.
Okay. Go on. 1 minute, please.
Thank you, my dear. I don't like the way we beg issues here. That is what my brother Olisambeki was doing in his analysis. Begging issues. Who is Sheriff? Somebody is supposed to be in the prison. If we are living in a sinner country, the Sheriff is supposed to be in the prison. Even the present vice president is supposed to be in the prison. One of the terrorists was found in the government house when he was governor. What are we talking? Now, Shehu asked him a question. Is Biafra a bad thing? Although few people from the north, people like Sheriff and the other Professor Yusuf, all they are saying is that Nigeria will remain one so that they continue to milk Nigeria. 99% of oil well we have in the south belongs to the people of the north. So why can't they want one Nigeria? So let us tell ourselves the truth. P2B has not committed anything. If you don't want to vote for him, continue. As the hunger is beating somebody from the north, is beating somebody from the south.
Okay.
Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Let's see. Next is going to be our Facebook page. We'll take this very one quickly. Hello. Okay, so I think we have to go to the Facebook now and see the reactions we have there.
All right, then the handle is Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Omaga Naman says action is a way of indirect inducement, bribery, and favoritism on the side of the government. With such an unholy romance between the state government and the judiciary, fair and balanced dispensation of justice will be very difficult when the government is involved or in a case they have interest. Jeku Bishop says Ali Modi Sharif has been out of government for long. Nothing has been heard about him for long, but now he wants to use P2B to relaunch him. Was petty and puerile with intent to demonize him ahead of 2027 general elections. The Northerners shouldn't see themselves as special people and treated by other regions to carry favors. Ali Sharif should tell Nigerians how many northern leaders, including himself, condemned Boko Haram and Fulani Marudas masquerading as herdsmen. The hypocrisy of the North is really disgusting. Olota Theophila says, please, Ali Modi Sharif is a self-seeking politician right from his time in PDP, where he refused to quit as interim chairman that was used to destabilize PDP then. He's just seeking for notice and a merited favor from the present government of that. And those are the comments we can take on Facebook. We're almost totally out of time.
Yes. So Tony, is this the mind of the North as we heard from Ali Modi Sharif? And do you think that this is damaging or just one of those things that happen during electioneering?
One is Ali Modi Sharif is a strong supporter of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And remember that the present vice president is a political son to Ali Modi Sharif. He's a political son to Ali Modi Sharif. And secondly, Hakim Baba Ahmed has hinted, thought on the Northerners, but the politicians definitely will use their own mother tongues, their own local languages to tell the North, this is what this man stands for. If you are voting for him, look at him. You may not like Ali Modi Sharif. He is not on the ballot. He stands to lose nothing. He's not going to lose anything. Term him anything you want to term him. Boko Haram this, Boko Haram that. He is not going to lose anything. You have somebody who's on the ballot. And everything, this is politics, strategy. If you know what you can use to demarcate your opponent, that is the game. And when somebody deploys it, don't be very emotional about it. He's trying to demarcate your candidate, sell his own candidate, and people should understand it that this is a political war. Definitely, there will be a time Those who are against it, of course, you know what they are using to the marketing armor of, but the whole thing boils down to INEC sensitization. You know, Northerners how they vote. They listen to their politicians. They listen to their clerics, their imam, their alpha. They listen to them very well. Many of them are not as educated as we have in the southern part of the country, and most times, you know, the poverty index is there. It's important that in game of politics, it's a game of chess, strategy, and media strategy is also important. I must say this, but you know what I always say? If you do all these things we are doing, yes, the US has said they are taking a special interest in Nigeria's election. They say they are going to monitor it, but who are the umpires? I have always asked this question. That's why I keep saying.
And another thing is saying it and going far, because we cannot, to be honest, Trump wields power, because if you see what happened at the World Cup,
a coach change the red card.
Change
the red card.
The thing is,
but yet they lost.
After saying all these things, what else happens behind the closed doors?
All right.
Chisholm.
Oh well, it is 80. What now? Today is the 7th, so practically 52 days since children went to school in Orire or your state and have no